Within JSP, there are chances of error happening, and we need to have error page to handle the error. So I can go ahead and create a dedicated error page where I will be defining an attribute is error page to confirm that particular page is an error page, so that it will have access to the exception and the exception can be printed in the screen or in the log file. Let me go ahead and create a sample JSP file. So I'm creating a new JSP file with the default template. Let me name it as page directive custom error page. So all I will be doing is I will be adding a page directive with attribute is error page. This will give confirmation to the container saying this particular page is an error page, so that it will have access to the exception. Let me go ahead and change the title. Let me add a test content. So whatever the exception that's happening, that particular JSP will forward the request to this specific JSP, and the JSP will have access to the exception, and the exception will get printed using this specific expression. Now let me go ahead and create a test page to create the JSP error. Let me name the JSP as page directive error page underscore test.jsp. Let me change the title, and I'm going to have an expression which will generate an error. Here I do have an expression where a number is divided by 0. So it's going to generate an exception. Let me go ahead and execute this specific JSP file. And one more thing needs to be taken care. Within the Eclipse, the internal browser is not working for the request forward. So I need to change the browser to some other browser than the internal one. For that, I will be getting into the preference, general, web browser, use external browser, and it will provide the option to select the external browser available within the system. Let me go ahead and execute the error test page where I don't have any specific page attribute. Let me go ahead and run the specific JSP, run as run on server. Since I am dividing it by 0, it will be throwing an exception, and the actual exception will get displayed in the JSP, and the code will also get displayed in the JSP. This is going to have security issues with the application because the end user will be in a position to see the actual code as well as the logic and application in the browser. I can have the custom error message getting displayed on any error or exception by doing the configuration against the JSP. So I will be adding a page attribute. On error, this particular error page should get displayed. This is the error page that we had created with this specific text, and the exception will get printed. Let me go ahead and execute the JSP now. So on error, the custom error message should get displayed. Yes, I do have the custom error message, and the exception, what it is getting displayed. So this way, I will be in a position to control the application on any exception happening within the application. So we have seen the attributes to be used within the page directive. There are some other attributes which can be used like session, which we will be discussing it more in detail in the future session. Let me give a brief overview about those attributes. The session attribute, it will instruct the JSP whether to create the session object or not. By default, the session object will get created. In case if I don't want the session object to get created for any specific JSP, I can set the value as false. The similar way, I do have another attribute called isThreadSafe, which will give instruction to the servlet whether that specific JSP should be handled as a thread safe or not. The default value is true. So depending on the value of isThreadSafe attribute, the required classes and the interfaces will get implemented for the generating servlet. And we do have another attribute is ELIgnored, where the default value is false, and it will ignore the expression language within the JSP. In case if I wanted the JSP not to ignore, I can go ahead and change this particular attribute is ELIgnored accordingly. So we have seen various attributes to be used within the page directive.